Well, mahalo as we look at OKO Stick Counter number 14 and the second round. Can you believe we're there, guys? So in second round here, we have our last club technique, or stick. It's going to be in our green zone, coming from 12 o'clock, our left leg slightly forward. Once again, the opponent's coming in with his left leg forward and a right circular strike. We need to go immediately to a zone of sanctuary, and because this is a club, this is a now technique. We move the second they move. So once again, as it comes in, I need to stop this before it gets to the apex of the strike, when he gains the most momentum and where it can hurt the most. So I need to control my distance and go to that zone of sanctuary quickly. So once again, as it comes in, I'm step in. I'm going to chop and grab, and I'm going right palm heel strike to the radial head of the shoulder to stop his forward momentum. As he does so, I'm going to use my right fist to contour down his arm. I'm going to rake through his bicep or tricep, and maybe, if I want to, affect the radial nerve head on his arm to help him loosen up his grip on that weapon. As I do so, my hand is going to shift from his wrist to the weapon and to strip using the thumb as the gate. Once again, if I were to grab two sticks here, here's my opponent's arm, and here's now the weapon that I'm controlling. He's coming in with a circular stick. I'm going to step in, block the stick, control it as I am here. I've got control of his wrist. Palm heel strike. As I cut down, I'm going to grab the end of the weapon and then to strip the weapon. It's going to allow me then to use that weapon on my opponent, and I need to soften him up. I'm going to do that by using a kick to his front leg. Now it's really kind of up to you, in my opinion, which leg you use, but for in this instance, let's use a right kick as we want to step forward. So I can strike, strike, kick to open him up. Now, once again, like we saw previously, whether we step in front of our opponent or behind our opponent determines how we're going to take him down. In this particular case, we are on the outside. In the base technique, after we are done with the kick, we're going to step to the outside of our opponent, and I can bring up the stick, contour around his body to use the stick as leverage to then take him down. If I step in front, I'm going to need to use a buckle, modifying his stability above his knee and off-weighting to take him down. Once again, this can be determined by your height relative to your opponent and or your weight relative to your opponent. Do you want to wrestle him down, or do you want to hit him with the planet? So once again, once I've stripped the weapon, strike, strike, kick. In this particular case, I'm going to step immediately in front of him. Contour, grab. I can still use the weapon as the basis of my throw. But in this particular case, I'm using in-place stance change. My right foot is now going to be stepping towards my 3 o'clock, buckling that leg to take him down. I can follow up, cross cover, and on guard. So what lessons, concepts, and principles do we have here in stick counter number 14? Zone of sanctuary, whenever we're against a circular weapon. We have distance control, whether forward or back. This is also called a blit. It's a block and a hit at the same time. I'm blocking the weapon hand coming in, but I'm also striking the radial head of the shoulder at the same time. I'm using contouring when coming down his arm to help affect that disarm. We also have frictional pull, and the thumb is the gate. The frictional pull, that as my hand comes down his bicep to his forearm, that friction is going to create a negative body posture to allow me to respond. We also need to be aware of our hip position. Whether on the inside or the outside, we need to have our hips lower than our opponent's. Not much, but it needs to be enough lower to create a perfect tipping point for our opponent. In other words, if my tipping point is up here, not much rotation can be done, but when my tipping point is below my belt, I can tip over quite a bit. If the tipping point is at my shoulders, the only thing that can tip is my head. As we bring it down, more of my body and more of my weight is able to be shifted and tipped. We also have off-weighting. Once again, as I'm striking and I off-weight as I use that kick to step around, I've now placed more weight on his opposite leg to affect the takedown. This has been a look at OKO Stick Counter number 14. Stay tuned as next week we look at OKO First Brown material. Aloha, mahalo, and live pono.